One of the greatest tennis players of all time and a huge New York Knicks fan, John McEnroe, back on the program. John, great to talk to you again. If I said compare the feeling of winning a Grand Slam event or last night.
Well, take either one of them, but I'll tell you, that was one of the all-timers. I don't know if I've ever been in a stadium. I'd like to tell you that some of my matches come close, but that was the mother of all crowds, the second half. So helped him through. I've been waiting 53 years, Dan. It happened twice before I was 14. I thought it happened every 5 years or so. Unbelievable road. And, I'm sitting next to Larry David in the game last night, and we have a tendency to get a little down on things when things are, not going our way. Well, that's, here we go again, same as the last time. And I had this feeling this time. I said, Larry, we got to get a little more positive here. We've got to, we're not out of it yet. We're 30 down. It's just a train wreck. But these guys aren't missing. We're not making it. I'm just trying to talk myself into it because, I have this tennis academy. I'm trying to tell kids never give up, keep trying every point. And it gets to a point where you get so discouraged you can't do it. And we were approaching that, but we weren't there yet. So this miracle of miracles somehow occurred.
Okay, but this is against your brand and Larry David's to actually be positive out there, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I've grown to appreciate what I've accomplished in the past, and also try to appreciate how lucky I am to even be at an event like that after all these years. And so, Larry's like, let's get out of here. I can't handle this anymore. I'm like, Larry, take a deep breath here. And by the end of it, it was like divine intervention or something. These analytics or whatever whatever that is, they don't factor in like heart and will, in my opinion. And thank God the Spurs, seem to be playing the game of analytics. Let's keep shooting threes.
Yeah.
Let's keep doing this. And even if we're missing, eventually they'll fall. Well, they weren't falling. And because they weren't, the crowd started getting more and more into it. Absolutely electric by the end of it. And then OG to do that tip in, he saved us, is the bottom line.
Do you watch live sports differently than maybe we would, being a former athlete?
I appreciate this. Yes, I would think so a little bit. I appreciate excellence, and I appreciate that will and desire. I see it in other teams. I respect that. I respect the Spurs. I mean, for God's sakes, they won 5. Since I've been around waiting for another Knick thing. And, I always loved Tim Duncan. I respect this team. It's a great team. To see this Wembanyama up close is unbelievable. How well he moves, how athletic he is at that height. So I definitely appreciate that. But what I love about this team is that I've been to a lot of games recently, the last couple of years since it's been put together, where they don't quit. They keep battling, when all appears hopelessly lost. I mean, there were some guys, I was one of these guys that thought they should keep Thibodeau for another year. Like, he deserved that. He got to the conference final. That was a harsh one. What's with this Mike Brown guy? He's been around the block. Is it a retread? What's happening? And now all of a sudden, he looks like a genius, although at times there was a couple guys he put in. I'm like, I don't even know who these guys are.
I know.
I mean, I was like, no, get Towns in. If he's got 4, put him in anyway. And, it was just beyond belief. And then Alvarado, he's a guy that I watched with the Pelicans. And I was thinking, God, that's the type of guy from Brooklyn, or, he's the type of guy we want on our team. And somehow he got traded to the Knicks. And the guy had the greatest game of his life. That second half, I mean, he was incredible. He brought us back into it as well. I mean, it was just, I felt like that 14-year-old when Willis Reed and Clyde and DeBusschere, Bradley, that whole team, Earl the Pearl. I mean, it's amazing. So I feel like that's going to be tough to overcome if you're San Antonio.
Talking to John McEnroe, I was wondering about this. I saw you with Charles Barkley, and you brought up what I've brought up before about Barkley. There's a whole generation that doesn't know that he was one of the great basketball players. There's a whole generation or two that didn't know John Madden was a great football coach. And it feels like there's a generation or two that doesn't realize that you were, once the best player in tennis. So it's kind of funny how you become so good at your other job that, people forget what you did to even get this opportunity.
Yeah, it pissed me off for like 15 years. You're a better commentator, than you are a player. I'm like, wait a minute. I finished number one 4 years. And I was like, how could you say that? That's such BS. And then after a while, I realized, hey, wait a minute, maybe that's a compliment. Maybe as you get older and hit 40, 50, I don't even want to tell you, 67 now, maybe you should be able to take some compliments. I was the commencement speaker 3 years ago at Stanford. I was the first, athlete ever to be the commencement speaker, first dropout ever to be the commencement speaker. And they asked me to speak to the senior class presidents. And a big reason they picked me to be the speaker was because they heard me being the narrator on Never Have I Ever. This is a show that Mindy Kaling did where I was the narrator for 4 years.
Yeah.
I go, I was a tennis player, right? And I'm not a goddamn narrator, my full-time job. So you never know. Like this was one of those that you couldn't make, that they would have, in Hollywood, they would have thrown the script away. They would have said, that's not possible, what we just saw. And then everyone, I would say half hour to an hour, no one left the stadium. It was incredible. It was like when the old days when people would storm the field. Everyone was on the court. Unreal.
What were you doing on the court after the game?
Just staring at, what the hell was going on. We're all like high-fiving and hugging each other, talking. It was like, what do we do? I don't know. Let's just stay here. They were like, you want to go on a show? Do you want to go show? Well, I need a ride to get out of it. It's a little rough right now to get in and out of the garden, but all worth it in the end. All worth it in the end. It's unbelievable. Like this is so great for the city. I've been in New Yorker my whole life. This is, I know it's just bringing people together in such a beautiful way.
If they win, will you cry?
I would probably will do so. Yeah. I'm not much of a crier, but certainly cry over certain things. It would certainly be some major tears of joy.
I was wondering about this with the automated calls in tennis. Your most famous line probably wouldn't have been uttered if you were you wouldn't have been yelling at anybody, right?
Yes, I wouldn't be sitting here probably talking with you. You would have been like, hey, that guy's that guy that played tennis, and he seemed pretty good, but he didn't have that much of a personality. So, those are the days where I think people love to see that. In baseball, the guy would kick the dirt into the, the umpire, and they'd be face to face. Why do they even have a guy calling balls and strikes anymore? I mean, that would be my question. I'm not saying it's, that's up to them, but I just covered the French Open. They went back to the old way where they were calling the lines. The only tournament in the 52-week calendar where they have people calling the lines. It was like, why? If this thing works. So at some point you'll see that maybe more, whether you're going to it, how many times did they go to the replay? 12 last, unbelievable amount of times. And then they find something happened before the foul they called. Like, oh yeah, the guy pushed him off before that. It's crazy, but it's a beautiful thing. I'm sure the ratings are just incredible.
And people go to these tennis matches to hear you still yell, you can't be serious.
Well, actually, I only said it once in 15 years on the Pro Tour, but I went on the Seniors Tour for a good 20 to 25 years. And in my contract, if I didn't say it, they wouldn't pay me. Okay? I had to say it at least once a day.
What's the coolest thing in your office?
Coolest thing in my office. Let's see. This is, here's a cool thing. This is a picture of the New York Times book review back in, I think this is 1986, and it's Magic. It's a picture of Magic, and behind him sitting there is a picture of me and my ex-wife. And his leg is in the way of my ex-wife. So I don't know what that's saying, but that's one of my favorite things.
Do you think Tatum has that same newspaper?
I hope so. After all, we have 3 kids. It's been a long road. I'm lucky that my second wife downstairs, I've been with her for 31 years. I got lucky. I had a second chance. sort of like the Knicks getting the second chance in the second half, okay?
Nice.
That's how incredible it's been for me.
Great comeback by you.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Great comeback. Thank you, John, as always, and good luck the rest of the series.
Hey, next time I come on, you let me play guitar again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I'll come up with
yes.
I'll come up with something.
Okay. Well, what are you working on right now, just so I can get... You gave us Nirvana, I think, the last time, didn't you?
I might work on like a Cure song.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you prefer something else, we can come up with something that's semi-singable.
Well,
for me.
yeah, I don't think you could sing like Robert Plant and Led Zeppelin or play like Jimmy Page.
Touche.
Well, nobody
No
can.
kidding. Yeah, no kidding.
Thank you, John.
Take care.
That's the great John McEnroe, Hall of Famer. And yes, he used to be a really good tennis player.